Good afternoon, good morning. This is Mark Johnson from Loyalty360. Hope everyone's happy, safe, and well. I want to welcome you back to another edition of our Leaders in Customer Loyalty series. In this series, as you know, we speak with the leaders in customer channel and brand loyalty about what they are seeing on the front lines. Today, we have the pleasure of speaking with Lindsey Roy, who is the Chief Marketing Officer at Hallmark. They are a diversified company with $3.5 billion in revenue. They have a unique amalgamation of business greeting cards, gift wrap, and related products, as well as the Crayola brand and 3 cable channels. So thank you very much for taking the time to talk to us today.
Thanks for having me. I'm excited to chat with you today, Mark.
Absolutely. So first off, we'd like to get to know a little bit more about those we interview. So we'd love to know a little bit about yourself, what you do at Hallmark, and maybe even a fun fact. Do you like to jump out of planes? Do you have 400 kids? Do you like to extreme skiing? Maybe something you have a passion for outside of work.
All right. Well, that's a good tall order question. So I'll start with the easy stuff. So from a work perspective, yeah, I do lead our marketing and some other pieces of our consumer experience at Hallmark. I've actually been at Hallmark 21 years this week. So maybe you'll give me credit for that being a little bit of a fun fact. But as part of this job, excuse me, I lead our marketing function, of course, including loyalty. And I know we'll get more into that. Our insights and analytics team, our digital teams, which includes Hallmark.com, and then some of our brands and businesses like our B2B business and some of our other brands like Mahogany and Dayspring. So that's my role at Hallmark. As far as, let's see, a couple of fun facts. Well, I have 2 kids. I live in Kansas City, so I'm in kind of that fun life stage. And maybe something people wouldn't know about me is I'm actually an amputee, and I have a prosthetic leg and have learned a whole bunch of stuff about life going through this particular set of experiences. And because of that, I've done a TED Talk, and I do speaking just on what I've learned from, this crazy situation that, presented itself in my life about a decade ago.
Well, interesting. Do you mind sharing kind of what happened, if it's relevant?
Sure. Yeah. So, and like I said, if you ever, want to check out, my TED Talk, it's on the interwebs of YouTube, like some of the other TED Talks on the TED channel. And basically I tell the story there that I said about a decade, but it was actually also anniversarying this week. 8 years ago this week, I was on just a little weekend lake vacation with friends, and a freak event, really a freak series of events happened where a boat ran over me. And as I say in the TED Talk, is my most graceful way to describe it, I danced with the propeller, and based on that experience, it left me with some injuries. But the cool news is I can still do everything I want to do. I just got back from a vacation to Montana and Yellowstone and hiked to see a waterfall and did all kinds of cool stuff. So it's been a journey, but I'm proud to say that I feel like I've learned a lot and I'm doing great.
That's awesome. Great to hear that. And I'll definitely check out the TED Talk for sure. For those who don't know Hallmark, I think there may be 1 or 2 people. Can you give us a short history of Hallmark and all that you offer as a brand?
Absolutely. I was talking to a couple of our interns this morning, and I'm always excited to tell this story because I do feel like Hallmark is a brand that is majestic and has a cool story. But the short version of it is, we've been around for over 100 years, and, founded really in 1908. And since then, Hallmark's been dedicated to really, creating a more emotionally connected world. Our brand promise is that we try to help people live caring and connected lives full of meaningful moments, which is a fun, and it's a privilege to work on something like that every day. So we're headquartered in Kansas City, Missouri. See, we employ about 27,000 people worldwide. And as you mentioned earlier, Mark, we have a diverse portfolio of businesses. Today, I'm going to talk about Hallmark Global, which is the business I live and work in. And that is the greeting cards, gift wrap, all the stores that you go to that have Hallmark on the front. And it's a pretty awesome mission. We do serve in 100 countries, 100,000 rooftops. And so to your point, people know Hallmark, people love the Hallmark brand. And, that's just a little bit about who we are and what we do.
Okay. And are your stores kind of franchisee, corporate owned, mixture of both?
Yeah, mixture of both, mixture of independently owned and corporate owned.
Okay, great. So I know you have a loyalty program called Crown Rewards. Can you give us some background on the program, kind of the history of the program, and any recent enhancements you've made?
Yeah, for sure. The program Crown Rewards, you got it exactly right, launched in 1993. And at the time, that was one of the first loyalty programs and could even be the first loyalty program. We don't want to stake that claim in case we're wrong, but I think it was in the retail vertical. So that's where, Crown Rewards began. And it's really cool. We still have, hundreds of thousands of members who signed up in 93 and are still with us. But of course, over, the decades, we've grown Crown Rewards to tens of millions of people who have been in and out of the program, and depending on their particular life stage. But it's a big booming program, and we're always doing things to try to engage and reward, just like everybody else does in the loyalty space. And so a couple of little things as it relates to kind of the transitions that we're in right now. One of them I'll say is digital transformation. I'm sure, Mark, you hear this from everybody, from every CMO, from every leader, that's just a big part of loyalty. So whether it's, enabling new capabilities where you can instantly, get a text on your phone when you sign up, so we can really make sure and have that direct relationship, all the way to, leveraging our Hallmark.com and our digital footprint to sign up more people, to share the benefits of the program, to share the incentives and all of that good stuff. So there's a big part about digital. And the other couple of things I'll make mention to, we've continually also tried to make this program as valuable as we can. And we hear, we have great net promoter score, one of the highest in the industries, that Hallmark's always adding value. But one of the things we started a couple of years ago was, as a Crown Rewards member, we give you a free card every month. And that's just a chance for you to have a chance to continue to engage in what's new and different from our category. It gives us the opportunity to drive trips and drive, interactions. And so that's something that's been very successful. And then, like I mentioned earlier, on the digital front, but speaking specifically to acquisition, a lot of companies I know, especially those who have big retail footprints, had to really figure out how to pivot during the pandemic. And we were able to have one of our strongest acquisition years actually in 2020. And just by doing some cool things on Hallmark.com. One of the things I'll mention is we gave away millions of cards, really, truly, just to try to put some love in the world. But we gave away 7 million cards over a few different time periods. And all you had to do was give us your email and sign up for Crown Rewards. And people got these pack of 3 cards in the mail and they loved it. But from a loyalty perspective, it really helped us grow even more into Crown Rewards. So that's just a little bit of a snapshot of been around since 93, always modernizing, always transitioning, and like everybody, figuring out how to navigate through, the last year and a half.
So when you get a free card each month, does that person have to go into the store, physical store itself, to drive that trip, to drive that engagement, or can it be mailed to them?
Yeah, our free card monthly program is a store related program. So we do drive a trip to the store. And of course, that's always a good thing for the business. The free card program, of course, we did during the pandemic. We did mail those to people because, like a lot of places, we had stores that were closed or all the challenges with people getting to retail during that time period. But our perennial free card monthly program is a retail based trip driving initiative.
Okay. When you gave away 7 million cards, obviously it's a great promotion, very corporately, socially responsibility focused. I didn't say that right, but CSR focused, philanthropic. Obviously, caring is a big piece going through the pandemic. What did you see after the promotion of that program? When you gave away 7 million cards, well, what was the kind of objective, and what did you see coming out of that?
Yeah, I remember distinctly, it was the end of March of 2020 when everybody was just dealing with this first kind of crazy wave of how to navigate. And we asked ourselves, what can Hallmark do as a brand, as a business? And we had to really think through a lot of the operational side of this, the logistics. But once we, after just 10 or so days, we got it up and running, and we essentially said on Hallmark.com and other places that we spread the word, come and we'll give you free cards. And those first pack of cards were really focused on just caring and connecting for friends and family and neighbors. Like I had My grandmother was in a senior living center, and I was thinking about how lonely that would be, or neighbors that, you couldn't see anymore. And so all the original ones were really about those connections with people you love. We followed it up with another couple of million cards that were really dedicated to frontline workers, leaving a card, for your delivery person, giving a card to your nurse who's a next door neighbor. So we had these different kind of reasons, and we saw a ton of engagement and excitement. And frankly, it just made us happy to hear and see all the stories of people who received those cards and how much it meant to them. And it kind of got people going again, where they realized how meaningful cards are and how they are so useful in their kind of connecting toolbox. And then from a loyalty perspective, I said we got, a lot of different people to see and understand our Crown Rewards program. And so now we've continued to have a relationship with those people, where we can, of course, remarket to them, talk to them about what we're doing, which in a minute I'll share with you our newest innovation, which I'm super excited to share with you, Mark, called Sign and Send. And this was a new audience to introduce this new capability to.
Okay. What does customer loyalty mean to you and your organization? We have about 135 brands that are members. We talk with them, but it's always interesting to hear how different brands define customer loyalty, especially in this era of evolving customer experience, evolving kind of customer preferences, and kind of their even shopping behaviors. Everything is changing fairly rapidly, but customer loyalty is very important. So, what does it mean to you and your organization?
In the simplest terms, for us, it means being a true helpful partner to our consumers. So, we want to show loyalty to our consumers by really being an active partner as they build and grow and deepen their relationships. So that's at the heart of what we try to do, is just be a partner to help people, live those caring and connected lives that we try to promise as a brand.
Okay, great. Um, One of the questions we always like to know too is, customer loyalty, customer experience is evolving.
Yeah.
How has your strategy evolved beyond just transactions? What other methods are you using to engage and reward your customers?
For sure. You're exactly right. A lot of loyalty programs, as you know better than anybody, Mark, really started off just all about transactions, buy X, get Y. And, that's just not enough in today's era. And I think we all know that. And, I'll humbly say we're always evolving and listening and learning. And so I think anybody would be naive to say they have it all figured out. So I don't want to say we have it all figured out. But we are proud of our really positive net promoter score and the feedback and the retention that we have. So I'll throw out a couple of things that I think are drivers beyond transactions. One of them is we're an emotional brand. We're a brand that is about caring. And so we try to bring that emotional loyalty into the equation. So for instance, if you would come in, Mark, and buy 10 cards, et cetera, instead of us saying, thank you for buying 10 cards, you get X points or whatnot, we also try to give you that emotional feedback of, wow, you did a lot of good in the world, or what a caring person you are. And so even in our editorial and our language, we try to make sure and have that emotional connection. We've done things like we've had a lot of events. One of them is we have a national event that's a member appreciation event in August, where you get some of those special offers and in-store celebrations. A lot of our local store managers on the store side will send personalized handwritten notes. So those are some of the things that we do. We even have in our stores loyalty store captains, people who are constantly thinking about Crown Rewards, advocating, championing what they need, and just really being those evangelists at the store level. So there's a big piece we try to do really around that kind of emotional loyalty. A couple of other things. One is convenience. We have benefits. We know people are used to doing everything, from their phone, and everything's easy right now. So if you're a member, free shipping on Hallmark.com all the time, no minimum purchase. We give you a free card every month. Those are convenience aspects. And then we try to personalize our messages to you. We know, like the best loyalty programs know, who you are, what you buy, what's happening in your world to the degree we can. And we try to personalize things. We don't ever just, send out blanket marketing. We really try to make sure that it's relevant and personal to you. So those are just a few examples. And like I said, humbly, we're always working, we're always transforming and trying to make sure that we keep that satisfaction, at the same level that we've enjoyed.
Absolutely. Personalization is very important today. Being able to do it at scale, being able to make sure it's not creepy, being able to have that reciprocity with a customer is very challenging. How are you guys looking at personalization and seeing that going forward? Because there obviously are different varying degrees of what personalization is, what it means, how to action on it. Would love to hear about what you guys are doing with regard to personalization.
Yeah, you're 100% right. It's always a journey, and it really just depends on what information that we know to the degree of how much we can personalize the experience. And so, like a lot of brands and companies, we'll do things that are, I'd say, are more light personalization, more segmented. Based on what you've done before. We might say, wow, this person really loves keepsake ornaments, and so of course we're going to talk to you more about keepsake ornaments. Some of those things that were leading practice, but maybe more basic now. But we're evolving into other things. So for instance, if you participate in this new innovation that we've launched on Hallmark.com called Sign and Send that I referenced earlier, essentially you can send a real Hallmark card with your handwriting completely from your phone. And as we talk about that a little bit more, we're going to learn a lot about, people's key dates to the degree they want to share those. And so we can remind you and help you maybe to make sure you don't miss that birthday next year. Or we can understand what kind of cards you like. We have a lot of knowledge over the years around different relationships, different card types, and what makes sense. And so we have a custom algorithm that we work on as well that helps us say, hey, Mark, I think you'd like these kinds of cards when you're getting ready to shop for Sign and Send. So personalization for us is all about your behavior, your interest, but as well as starting to get more to what are those key relationships and events in your life? Because the more we know in our two-way conversation, the more we can be helpful and say, okay, Mark, this key person in your life's birthday is coming up. You better not miss this, as an example. So we have a wide spectrum that we define as personalization.
Interesting. And it's great to hear that the app from the phone. Where are cards right now? I was going to ask, are they moving to more digitally produced and printed? Because I know, we've worked a couple of technologies that allow you to send handwritten notes, and that seems to be all the rage right now as well. But handwritten notes have kind of went the way of the dodo bird. But those who still do it, and I'm a big fan, it's differentiating, opportunity. But did the personalization? So I guess there's two questions. You look at handwritten notes. Are people still sending a lot of cards, or are they changing their behaviors around how they send cards?
Yeah, I'll say first of all, just in general, the category, the greeting card category is one of those that I think sometimes has some myths around it, because it is still a vibrant, booming, large category where we still have a lot of people that participate. I think what's changing the most isn't necessarily do people use cards or not. And I'll get to that a little bit more in a minute as you think about younger generations, but just talking broad generalities. But I think the thing that is changing the most is just people in general, how and where they shop and how and where they connect. And that's behind what I was mentioning earlier. So people will still tell us, and we actually saw attitudes around greeting cards increase and bump up during the pandemic, because when you're stuck at home and you're missing those you love, you really take stock of what's meaningful and how you connect. And we benefited from that. And we heard people say, cards are worth the time and effort, or a handwritten note does matter. And so as you think about, once again, the experience, we want to be wherever people are. So of course, like I said, you can go 100,000 rooftops and find a Hallmark card, but we also want to make sure if you're sitting at home or it's midnight and you're on your couch and you think of somebody that you can follow through on that good intention as well. So we're trying to just continue to make sure that our experiences are in line with the way people live their lives today. So I can buy a card in the store, I can buy a card on a retailer's website, or I can buy a card from Hallmark.com with all these new capabilities we've built in. And the last thing I'll say, just to younger consumers, that's both millennials and Gen Z. We see that, the more those generations experience cards and try them for themselves, the more they realize how relevant they are to their lives. But we really have found that trial is key for those generations. They have to try it themselves and pick out content that's relevant to them and send it to someone, in a way that makes sense for their life. And so that's why we do a lot of these kind of free card offers. Right now, you can get your first sign and send card for free, because we find over and over again, when people try out the category or even try out the service, they understand what people like you who already love handwritten cards understand. So that's a little bit about where we're at from a category perspective.
Makes sense. Makes perfect sense. When you look at kind of the challenge for brands today with regard to technology, being able to look at AI, some of the things you do, taking all that data, making it actionable, it's a huge opportunity, right? And creating simplicity in how they engage with the brand. It sounds like you're doing a great job of that. What are some of the challenges you have with regard to understanding technology or getting technology to work for you versus you working for technology? What are the challenges or opportunities you see there?
Yeah, I think everybody has similar challenges, and I'll specify a little bit about ours. So as you know, and I'm sure you hear from others, part of the challenges are just the data privacy. All of those rules are constantly changing. So whether it's cookies today or whatever is tomorrow, we're always making sure that we're following what's appropriate. And I will say, and this is of course a shout out, but I truly mean this. Hallmark and our Crown Rewards program have always done the right thing, is the simplest way to say it. We've never shared our data, we never will. So we're generally in a good starting place when it comes to CCPA or GDPR, all those things, because we have high standards internally, but we always have to make sure that we're keeping track of how legislation or privacy or any of those things are moving. So just keeping on top of all of that and making sure that we're leading and doing what's not only required, but going above and beyond. There's a chunk there, right? Just having people who are keeping up on all of that. And then I think, other pieces and parts, we're always updating our technology stack. I mean, everybody, I think, has to continue to look at what are the best options from consumer data, what are the best options from web development, app development. And so like everybody, we're always trying to bring the best products and services in the most easy way. And so that's something that, I don't think will ever end. I think people will just constantly evolve. Like I said, this new sign and send service, it's been around for 6 weeks. We just launched it, and we're leveraging technology that, wouldn't have been possible 5-10 years ago. So I think there's benefits in it, but you do have to hustle every day, have the right partners and have the right employees to kind of keep on top of it all.
Absolutely. And great to hear what you're doing there as well. You talked a little bit about customers changing, how they changed through COVID, wanting to make sure that they're staying in touch with their loved ones and in kind of a unique way. And you enabled that in a very cool, seamless manner for sure. How else do you see your customers changing? Maybe not necessarily just in kind of the card and gifting business, but in retail in general. And how are you as a brand with your diverse portfolio of brands kind of adapting to that change?
Yeah, that's a broad question because there's so many things that are changing, as you know. So, a couple of things I'll say, like you mentioned, as it relates to the broader picture, people's shopping behaviors clearly changed rapidly during COVID. People who had maybe never done an online grocery pickup service, all of a sudden, were doing that, and that behavior is stuck, as an example. So even speaking a little bit to our retail side, we needed to, as a specialty retail network, evolve quickly. So we launched, a curbside program really rapidly to make sure that we were ready and there when consumers' shopping behavior changed dramatically because of the pandemic. We have a pretty great, what we call a seamless relationship between our Hallmark.com business and our retailers, where a lot of our orders are actually fulfilled out of our stores, especially for gifts and keepsakes and some of those kinds of items, which is awesome because it gets to the consumer even quicker, as we have stores, all across the country, but evolving all of those capabilities. But back to your core question about consumers, like I was just mentioning, shopping behaviors have changed so much in the last 18 months, as every brand is experiencing. So we're trying to evolve right with everybody. And then, I think other things that we look at more from a content and creative aspect, something I haven't talked about yet. We have a large creative community, over 500 people that live and breathe in creative jobs, trends, writers, designers, all of these kinds of roles. And they help us really keep up with how consumers are changing. Like, we have an in-house trends group that isn't just about the next color, the next llama or avocado or whatever, which are some of the key icons the last few years. By the way, if you didn't know, you put a llama or an avocado on a card the last few years and it will sell. But really, people that are looking at cultural anthropology, how people want to express themselves differently, how people want to really think about their own mental wellness, whatever the trend is. This group of creative and trend experts help us on the business side, the marketing side, really make sure as well that our product, services, and even content is in line with how people are feeling and thinking. So there's a lot we look at, but those are just a couple of opposite examples.
That doesn't surprise me. Doing this has been one of the best interviews I've had in a long time. So the comprehensiveness of your approach is quite unique. So a couple last questions. So when you look at partnerships, as I mentioned, we have about 135 brands. We meet with them quite often. We've developed a partnership network that helps brands work with one another, right? Where there's synergies between data, customer interests, profiles. It's a great way to, especially with GDPR and CCPA and CCPDA and others, to kind of address some of that. How are you looking at partnerships? Obviously, you have going in the store. I go in there somewhat frequently, especially when I have a UPS package kind of dropped off there and I have to go get it. When you look at that, what do partnerships mean to you and your organization?
I think every company needs to acknowledge that they don't have a core competence in every single thing the world needs right now or consumers need right now. And we definitely subscribe to that. So partners in my mind are essential, and they are really most valuable when they can add a new and unique dimension. So whether it's somebody that has X, Y, or Z capability, we always look to say, how can that make us better, make us smarter, make us figure out a solution more quickly? And then there are things that we deem that are more the domain of our internal employees. And so, for instance, a lot of our creative content, based on everything I said a minute ago, is done in-house because we have an amazing creative community that knows the brand, knows our consumers. But as it relates to certain parts of our business, we know that we need partners, and we use partners, and we evaluate partners, and we try to be a good partner and really let that partner do what they do best. So it's something that's essential. And I don't know how you would be a modern brand or business in today's world and not have an openness to partners.
That's awesome. And the last question I have for you is, what can Loyalty360 do to help you and your team in their customer loyalty journey?
I think the biggest thing you can do is keep doing what you're doing, keep telling other stories, keep helping us see best practices. And we try to be students of the marketplace. And I think, even though this Crown Rewards program was the first in a lot of ways of its kind, we have a complete humility to make sure and understand what other companies and brands are doing. And if there's great learnings or great ideas, we want to talk about them. We want to see how that applies to our business. And so I know that our loyalty team pays attention to what you all put out from Loyalty360. And so I would say just continue to invest in this space. There's not a lot of other, points of access out there that go deep on loyalty. A lot of people go deep on marketing or brands, but this is a super helpful service. So keep telling the stories and keep helping us all get inspired, because in the end, we're all just trying to do what's best for our brand and business, and ultimately what's best for the people who interact with us.
That's awesome. Well, Lindsey, this has been an amazing interview. The passion you have, kind of the thoroughness which you look at customer loyalty is refreshing. Sometimes these calls are not up to par, but this is one of the best interviews I've had in a long time. Just the passion, just the vibrancy you have, and the commitment, but the holistic approach you have, I think, is very unique. Having a marquee brand like Hallmark is amazing, but making sure that you're staying ahead of the curve and having that passion is great, and you definitely have that. So it's an amazing interview, and I thank you for taking the time to talk to us today.
Well, thank you so much. I really appreciate you guys reaching out, and you made it easy. Thank you, Mark.
Absolutely. So thank you everyone for watching, and join us back for another edition of Leaders in Customer Loyalty soon. Thank you very much for watching.
See ya. Bye.